Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Daze, and you're about to watch Thorin rant for about 3 hours.
It was announced yesterday by me that I'm going to be taking on the role both of on-camera talent as an analyst, potentially other things, and also the creative director of the project thus far codenamed B-Site. You may have seen DK, the best reporter in the game, has reported a number of details about it. I won't confirm or deny all of them, but we'll go off his reporting when we're referencing some of this. Now, I had still yet to say anything other than that. I just said it as a tweet. And the reason why is because at the moment, B-Site hasn't revealed almost anything officially. It's all just come out through the press, through reports that they've done, the good groundwork that they've put down. So I told them, and I made very clear quite early on in this project, that I wasn't going to put myself in the center of community discussions, putting my opinions out there about our league, about other leagues in the space, until I'd made a public statement regarding what my involvement was. That's because, quite frankly, I think otherwise anything that would be said could be considered disingenuous when people later on found that out. It would be a direct conflict of interest. Now, it's a conflict of interest anyway, but if people at least know where you stand initially, they can still take what you say for whatever value it may hold. I also wanted to be involved in those discussions, but I want to do it the right way. Pay attention, Nicola Nyham. This is how you actually do it without being a fuck. So I personally think that my perspective on the scene as a veteran, as a journalist, as someone who works directly in it is one of the most important things I bring to the game. I bring to Counter-Strike as a space. And so I wanted to be involved in all these discussions for the last month, the last few weeks, etc. I just couldn't because it wasn't the right time for me to be able to reveal publicly that I'm involved. Now, you don't know who else is involved. Nobody else does. I just came forwards first after getting their blessing because I now want to be able to wade in and give my thoughts on things and analyse what's going on with the ESL and what's going on with this league and what it means for the space. And I can finally do so now that I've gone ahead and made that disclaimer right up front, and anyone can link to this video anytime they need to. Now, in the same vein, it was recently announced that ECS will no longer be continuing and the B-Site will replace it. In the same vein as it was considered ECS versus EPL, those were the two big online leagues. Obviously, EPL is no longer online and neither will this league be. This will be viewed by some people as like, wow, so you're on that side and you're against ESL. Not the case as far as I'm concerned. I will still work with ESL in the future if they invite me to the big events that I enjoy working at and that I consider really important. ESL One Clone, an obvious example. It's the best Counter-Strike event in the world. It may be, it always will be. Could absolutely be the case. Or if they were to hold a major in a country that I actually want to visit, I'd certainly consider working with them again. I still consider them the best tournament organiser for big LAN events in the space. I also still have a lot of sympathy for their position in terms of how demanding pro players are and some of the ridiculous claims that pro players will make and positions they'll hold while not delivering, quite frankly, on their end to anything close to a proportional level for how much they're getting paid and how much actual effort's being put in behind the scenes to set them up. So as far as I'm concerned, I can tell you right now as a guarantee, because unlike other years, I've got certain things locked in place. You will see me at a number of offline tournaments this year that are not just the B-Site seasons. There's going to be 2 of those. I actually think people have overblown how much of the calendar will be the B-Site project. It'll be something between 10 and 12 weeks of the year total. Not all the teams will participate in all those weeks. Or it's actually other teams can qualify that aren't even the teams buying in. There's so much misinformation out there. But as a result, there's plenty of the calendar left over for me to attend with other TOs, potentially even ESL if they indeed want to go ahead with that. Certainly something I'll be pitching for. In terms of me working with FACEIT again, obviously I had my beef with them when they didn't invite me to a fucking major held in my own home country when I was the original Counter-Strike analyst. And quite frankly, I've always been at worst top 3 every single year that the game has had analysis. So yeah, I did take that personally actually. And I've never ever said a lie about FACEIT or misrepresented them in any way. But I certainly went out of my way to point out all the flaws that they had as a company, the way that they behaved, and quite frankly how shit that FACEIT London major was. But what people may not know if they haven't kept up to date with By the Numbers and some of the other things on their social media is I squashed the beef with them years ago. In fact, at the end of 2018, the same year as the FACEIT major, we met up when we were at the Esports Industry Awards in London. Everything was cool. I took a picture together to squash the beef. They actually, as I mentioned on By the Numbers last year, invited me to work at ECS Season 8, the last ever season of ECS. I just couldn't happen to attend at that point in time because they asked me too late, and I had a scheduling conflict with some other work that I had going on. And if you notice, at the point in my career I'm at now, I don't want to attend 2 or 3 events in a month. I generally want to attend one event a month, roughly, at most. And we've actually reached the point now where even the incredibly high day rate, well over $1,000 a day, isn't actually always worth it for me. I sometimes want freedom in my life. I want to be at home and do work that I enjoy doing, not grinding every single event. Some big events are worth it. Some of them are part of history. Some of them are worth it even just financially. Not all of them are. So my involvement with this league, it actually began initially just as in a consultant role. They wanted me to come in, look over their current plan, talk about some of the ideas, suggest some ideas of my own, give a report, etc. What happened basically was I just tore apart all the ideas I thought weren't good and things that had been done before and were cliched and don't really have any like real merit to them. I brought a load of ideas, some of them fresh, some of them from other aspects and regions of esports that I thought would be great and things that I thought would go well. And quite frankly, they bought it. They thought this was all very good. I explained myself. I'm a pretty articulate guy. I'm a pretty convincing guy. So as a result, it went over so well in terms of my ideas that rather than just be a consultant, I was brought on not only to be on-camera talent, obviously I'm one of the best at that, but actually to be the creative director as well. That's now my new title. So that means I get to have a say in who the talent group is, who gets brought in, who gets excluded quite specifically. I think some people are overrated and a bit crap, quite frankly, no matter what other people may think of them, other TOs for that matter. That means I get a role in shaping the broadcast. So similar to some degree in terms of the talent with how you might have seen me working with Potter and Maui Snake when I was at Epicenter, where I put a lot of my focus into crafting what their identity would be, giving them appropriate work separately, sometimes with some overlap, facilitating the conversation. And I think actually that was the best event either of those two people have ever done. In Maui Snake's case, it's obviously the only real first event he's done, but I thought we really helped elevate Potter's level and show what she was really capable of that she doesn't always get when she's at some of the smaller tournaments. So I also get a lot of say in the tone of the broadcast, which is a very exciting prospect to me because we're going with something that is way more my style than anything you've ever seen before in esports, period. And it opens up so many possibilities for me and the other talent we'll be able to do on this project. And some of those names are going to run absolutely wild with what we're going to be able to do. And it's going to be really, really exciting. And there's no other TO in the game that I'm aware of, no other TO in the entire esports space that would have the balls to do it the way we're going to do it. What's great as well is the teams that are involved with the league thus far get it. And that's because what they understand is a financial reality that so many people in the space don't understand, including the fucking pro players who sometimes play for these orgs, is the play of the pro players inside the server, even if it's the best game ever with the most viewers ever, don't even come close to paying the salaries of those players, never mind making people profit within the space. So as a result, these teams get it that we need an entertainment product with a lot of shoulder content that itself can now have merit, can earn revenue, can become a key part of what's going on. So that people aren't just watching the matches, they're watching the stuff that goes with the matches, that builds into the matches, that keep the storylines going. So there's going to be shoulder content to a level you have never seen before in esports. Forget just CSGO. Think of the UFC, think of the NFL, think of what a great job the media teams and the production staff do for those particular leagues and competitions to really keep you engaged with it beyond just the raw action happening. In terms of analysis, obviously my backyard, I think this is going to be fantastic because you are going to see true analysis in a way you've never been able to at CSGO events before. They're going to have the resources, they're going to have the time, they're going to have the space within the broadcast, they're going to have their own distinct identities that I'm going to help craft so that there aren't just 2 or 3 people who are all ex-pro players, all ex-in-game leaders saying a different version of the same thing within a 2-minute span and then being cut to go to a break. Like, that's not going to be happening. This is going to be more like how lengthy an NFL broadcast can be, all the different segments, the different graphics packages, the different tech tools that you're able to use, different sets of people talking at different points through the broadcast about the broadcast in a different manner from different resolutions. This is such an exciting project. Then you've got to add in the big advantage this league has over EPL or any other league in the game right now is money. Because these orgs, the big teams, Mene, are the best in the game at raising money and getting sponsorships and building relationships with those sponsors where the activations that come from that mean you can make them long-term and big, high-value, big dollar amounts. So as a result, they're not hamstrung in terms of the resources and the things that we've been asking for in the way that the other leagues are. Then I'll throw in as well certain aspects of the format you will recognize, but the way it is executed is going to be utterly unique to Counter-Strike in terms of its execution, its impact, and the potential to build out storylines. That is going to be something very, very key. I can't give you the details right now for obvious reasons. The fucking name of the league isn't even official yet. In fact, technically it doesn't even exist, right? But I'll tease you in that that way. And you'll see when it comes, you never would have guessed what it was, and it will deliver big time. It's going to be very, very exciting if you're a big fan of esports history. Then I have to say, my involvement in itself is something quite exciting to me, because this is the level of involvement I wanted in the past from many different TOs. I've always thought this would be a kind of a role I would be perfectly suited for. Beyond just being the esports historian and someone who's worked as an analyst for many, many years and a journalist, I'm also an aficionado of the space. I might have watched more esports broadcasts than anyone else who's alive right now. So I have a sense for what I like, what I don't like, what we need more of, what I wish we'd be able to move past, what we should bring in from other scenes and spaces that we haven't been able to see in Counter-Strike. I've had a little bit of impact through some of the shoulder content I did with ESL, or sometimes some of the leagues have paid me to do things beforehand, and a little bit of leeway with people like ESL, E-League. But quite frankly, all those leagues always thought they knew best. They always had a producer who thought he knew best, or he was just hamstrung in terms of budget or resources or time even, so they couldn't do more. There was just never any kind of a path in the past from analysts, which quite frankly is treated like cattle, who just put them on, 2 minutes, right, cut them off, go to the ad break, great, now get into the game. There was never a path from that to the kind of role that I now have. So whether or not it's with this league even going forwards in the future years, I could absolutely see myself doing this role, and especially within the CSGO space, because Counter-Strike is the game most dear to my heart of the current active esports games. Now that I've actually made all this public though, I can now have forthcoming videos, tweets, commentary on By the Numbers, on these leagues, on the Battle of the Leagues, on the new space that we've got. And so transparency, as it always has throughout my career, will be very high on my end, because I don't believe in keeping secrets in that way, unless they're things you explicitly must keep secret and indeed have promised to, or there's the implication that you will. So, for example, even though you might think, oh, it's B-Site versus EPL. If EPL does a great job, if ESL does a great job, I'll be complimenting them just the same as I have before. Now, I actually think this league will end up being better than EPL, but I also think ESL by the end of the year will still be the best tournament organizer. It's still going to put on overall the best big tournaments and have events like ESL Cologne that pretty much always deliver. And I will comment based on stuff that is revealed through the press or officially revealed, like in DK's reports, or in the future when they reveal whatever this league's going to be, and whatever I feel comfortable dropping beyond that. Now, the key thing about this league as well is this is a league that should be here for a long time to come. We're talking a minimum of a couple of years commitment in terms of some of the founding teams. You're buying in for $2 million each was what the reported figure was. You don't buy in for anything to EPL or Blast, etc. There are penalties for poor performance. A key element I feel like has been missed. That means no matter what the starting organizations are, they are heavily incentivized from their initial investment, and then the fact they get fined if they're really bad in the league, to constantly bring in better individual players and overall lineups. So as a result, whether they start with the best teams or not is irrelevant, because in the future they should have the best teams in a few years from the line. Whether those orgs are still in EPL, won't matter if their players are gone and they're in the B site. So on the entertainment angle, means that we can also pick up the slack for some of the lesser teams that may in fact be in the league. Obviously you've heard some of the hints. Some of them are teams even have flamed in videos, right? Then they've got the angle that, as I said, the tone is something that I think fits this game and this community much more than anything you've seen before. It's not some Disney-fied bullshit or pleb-level shit like some of the other big TOs do, where it's just like, wear a suit, be professional, like, say things like a normal sports guy. Fuck that shit. I mean, we live in a world where ESPN has the gall to think they can report on CSGO while still not having CSGO listed as one of the game tabs on their website, because they're owned at the top of their company hierarchy by Disney, and as a result, they not only do not have one now, but almost never, likely never will list CSGO as a real game. They'll never acknowledge it's actually a game they cover. They'll just do stories that get linked on Reddit and get your hits from you. Fuck that world. I'm fighting back against that. This is the project that's going to let me do so. And this project's going to be the most me of any corporate project you will ever see in this space. This video was kindly supported by Alexander Rao, Blunt Smoking Anus Destroyer, Dane Cuskley, Dean Tanglis, Chi Mao, JDubs, NateDOhDoubleG, Peter the Feeder, Tobias Bernasconi, and a special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion and Mohammed, Alabdul, Razzaq. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Maybe you'd like to ask me a question in my monthly Patreon AMA. Would you like teasers on upcoming content that I'm doing? Maybe you want to take part in a discussion directly with me? Well, if so, then put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrilluminati today at the Patreon link in the description below.